Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Have You Ever Heard of? And the review of Final Space Season 1.
Yeah, the final episodes.
So many finals. My God, it feels like I'm back at high school.
Oh man, don't tell me that. Ugh, gross.
Well, I'm Myles, if you've forgotten, and I'm here with Cameron, of course. And let's dive into this. We've already started. So, let's talk about Episode 7.
Yeah. Kind of, what would I say? It's not, I was about to say it's darker, but it's not. It's heavier, but it was nice to see Gary being like...
Not silly?
Not silly, yeah, thank you.
Being grounded, maybe?
Yeah. Just to see him, like, when he's interacting with little Kato and talking about how much his father loved him and stuff like that, and just, like, it was nice to see, Gary being not putting on airs.
Yes, it's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed the amount of grief and how everybody was trying to deal with it. It kind of made them feel more realistic. Little Kato would, of course, hide. Gary would do what he's been doing for the last 5 years, which is, of course... right in his video blog about it, his video diary blog.
Right. Wow. And of course, this time to someone who's not Quinn.
Cameron, are we Gary's?
Why? What makes you say that?
Because we're talking to a video blog.
Well, we're talking to each other.
That's very true. Okay, well, thank God we're not that. Let's move on.
I mean, you say like we're Gary's as if that's a bad thing.
That's very true. He's a pretty decent character.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of the other things that happened in this episode. So after they deal with this grief, this small trio decide to go attack the Lord Commander directly. Or Quadro. It was a Quadro.
Well, I mean, we've got Little Kato, Gary, and Kevin for some reason. I don't know. Kevin's just there doing all sorts of stuff all the time. Oh, yeah. Mooncake. How can I... Wow. How can I forget Mooncake?
He had a knife in his mouth.
Yeah. But, I mean, before we get into that, we can't forget for the fact that now is the time where Gary is suddenly not a prisoner anymore.
Oh, yes. He was actually released.
Yes.
He is now allowed to be a person.
He's a free man. He can finally eat those cookies.
And maybe use a crowbar. But carrying on.
Yeah, I guess so, too. The cookies were not worth it. The cookies were not worth the wait.
The cookies were not worth it. So, they attack the Lord Commander's, one of his ships, and they get saved by Nightfall, or also known as Future Quinn.
Yes, we finally find out what the heck her name is, or find out who specifically she is after she's been operating in the shadows all this time. Like, we've seen her, but... now we finally know her. Just
because we know she's Future Quinn, we don't exactly know who she is, because she's a different Quinn. As much as Gary will try to not say so.
Well, I mean, it's similar to what I was thinking about Avocado in the first couple episodes, right? We don't necessarily know who he is, what his motivations are, so we don't necessarily know if he's a good or a bad person. And it's the same with Nightfall. And of course, that is sort of what we see as these episodes go by, now that she is part of the crew.
Yes. So let's talk about that scenario where you said they're going to bring back Avocado. How did you feel when Little Kato said he was going to use Nightfall's
the ship
to get his dad?
It seemed very natural. It seemed a very natural extension to want to do something because he has no real way to... the trauma is so recent that he just has no real way to compartmentalize any of the grieving process, that it's just a whole lot easier to just try to go back and stop it from happening to begin with. And that's very natural, honestly. The fact that he, even with him beating himself up over how he made a mistake trying to change the past and stuff like that, it's well, everybody makes mistakes, but he's in a pretty bad spot, so it's not necessarily his fault.
That's very true. And, well, he tries to do something about it, which is something I can really respect.
Mm-hmm.
But let's carry on, because unfortunately this is one of those long ones, because we're doing 4 episodes instead of our usual 3.
Well, they flow really well together, though. Basically, the last bits that we have for this episode is that we find out that, how would I say this? Nightfall has been redoing the past, trying to fix the breach for 20 years. I think is what a figure that she throws out at some point. And she's like, she's got to kill Mooncake. And so it's like she's, in a way, kind of not on their side. But at the same time, she is, because she's Quinn. So her mission has always been to close the breach. But the way that she's going about doing it, it's like, I guess she's become jaded and misguided over those 20 years, because Gary dies. And Mooncake destroys the universe in a way, or certainly doesn't, do anything that would lead to closing the breach. And so then it's just like, yep, she's just not a horrible person, but very misguided in what she wants to do. But they are at least able to kind of pull her back from that. Or at least in the next episode, they very much are able to do that.
So let's talk about episode 8. Only 2 minutes until the cookies are ready.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess at this point we're approaching the point where we're finally going to see what the heck is going on. But we don't really do much for like final space here. This is all like we meet a Titan. I guess we find out what the heck is beyond final space and all of that. And the big takeaway for me from this one is that Gary is, in a way, the cause of his own problems.
Which is something that needed to be said. Which I'm sure Bolo recognized. It doesn't take a Titan to realize that Gary is the cause of his own problems.
I still just cannot believe that when he tells his dad as his future self, your co-pilot who's been your friend, as he just said, for like over 20 years is a bad person or is going to become a bad person, and then his dad's just like, okay, I'll take your word for it, let's beat him up. I'm just like, what the who just does that?
He gets it from somewhere.
Oh, that's true.
And his mom, I don't want to say anything about that.
Oh, okay.
So
that was the weirdest thing of the episode for me. I was just like, what? Why did you do that?
Let's talk about some of the other characters here as well. So John Goodspeed, was it?
Yeah,
Goodspeed. Right. John Goodspeed is, of course, the voice actor is Ron Perlman, the classic, the biker.
In addition to many other things.
Yes, exactly. The gatekeeper. I don't know if you knew this, but that's Andy Richter.
Andy Richter, you mean?
Yeah, Richter, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so that's why he sounded... Wow, I wondered why he sounded familiar.
Of course. Sorry, I can't read my own typing.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for. Okay. And I definitely recognized the voice of Bolo, because that's Keith David.
I did like the fact that Bolo was able to speak to Gary with that earlier, what was it, episode 6 or 5, I think it was, when they're gathering this power from the exploding star.
Oh, episode 4.
Episode 4,
and
yes.
He talks through, and he appears...
he doesn't appear. That's right. He does appear as Mooncake the caterpillar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's, when... yeah.
When he explains...
Refer everything back to our previous episode where we talked about that.
Yes. So, they meet Bolo. Gary realizes he's the problem of his own making. And he learns how to close final space.
Right, because there's another bomb that they can use to do it.
Yes.
Thanks to good old Dad.
Thanks to Pigeon John. I mean, yes, good old Dad.
What?
It's a great song, The Bomb by Pigeon John.
Oh, okay.
Of course, Cameron, you and I don't have the exact same taste in music, so that will be something I will definitely have to introduce to you, especially the way it was introduced to me. I think you'll enjoy that.
All right.
I know you like your superhero stuff, so I will show you that one of these days.
Well, I'm sure I will look forward to it when that happens. Anyway.
Let's move on to episode 9. Getting the bomb. And the crew head to Earth to close the gap. Or the crew heads to Earth to get the bomb to close the gap to final space.
Mm-hmm.
2 to 2 to 2 to 2 to 2.
Yes. Well, there's lots of things that they need to do to get to their final objective. It was kind of nice to see what Earth is like. And also I just kind of reconnect with people that we were sort of introduced to at the beginning of the season, like with, what the heck is his name? The
Triborn.
Yeah, that guy, that weirdo.
Fun fact, Triborn was actually added to the series because he was such a big hit.
Really?
Yes. The first episodes that he was in was basically going to be his only inclusion, apparently, according to Olin Roger. But the fan base liked him so much that they threw him in as the leader of the resistance.
I mean, I kind of wondered if he was just if there was going to be something to him anyways, just like if they were going to chat with him or get some final message or whatever, because he was still on Earth after Quinn left. And the fact that he's leader of the resistance and this has been happening for a long time. Okay, that was a big surprise. He's still a creep, but, whatever. He's our creep, I guess.
I do also think you missed one of the important parts. There's that school of turtles that attack the ship.
Is attack really the right word to use for that?
Absolutely. They threw themselves at the ship.
This
is like Magikarp trying to attack their enemies.
Yeah, but they didn't necessarily do that of their own volition. They just got stuck in the breach, basically, and it's like, oh.
Okay, you feel free to keep your idea of how the story goes.
Yep, I very much will hold to my interpretation of that. You can hold on to yours, and if anyone has any other interpretations of how that scene played out, you feel free to let us know.
Also, Hugh outfits the bots with some makeshift weapons, which were amazingly effective.
Was that Hugh that did that? I thought that was just straight up the Samies just got really into Mad Max all of a sudden for some reason.
No, apparently he controls the Samies. It's it's said very quickly there.
Okay.
He says that, I have outfitted the Hughs or the Samies with weaponry and that.
Okay.
It's a very quick said thing, so...
That might be why I didn't catch that.
There is a lot going on in there, so...
It is nice, though. Really action-packed, this episode. Really, really, really good. And nice and tight as well. I mean, we don't need to bounce back and forth necessarily between anything anymore, so we can just, have this nice through line throughout the episode that we can just stay focused on the entire time.
Yes. Speaking of staying focused, Gary asks out Quinn, and Quinn asks why Gary likes her. And
in addition to her being like, now? Why are you asking this now? You could have picked a better time, or any other time. Which seemed like a very natural reaction to the situation.
Exactly.
But hey, now or never, right?
We also found
Earth's about to be absorbed.
We also found out one other very important piece of information, and that is the exploits of the Kevin. Kevins work for people to help the people that they are working for, not necessarily the... what's the organization?
The Infinity Guard?
Yes, not exactly the Infinity Guard.
Right.
That was all said because, of course, Kevin pops up and says, "Hey, Kevins, how's it going? Yeah, we're trying to get rid of these people to do something. Can you help us out?" And they look over, they see a person, and they're like, "Yes, of course, we'll totally get rid of all of these other guys for you. Don't worry about it, not a big deal."
The Kevins are weird because once there were other ones that showed up, and the fact that they're just like, "Oh, hi, Kevin, hi, Kevin, hi, Kevin, I'm Kevin." And I'm sitting there going, wow, it's like I'm watching the Meeseeks episode of Rick and Morty again.
Oh, yeah.
That's like the thing that popped into my mind when they were doing that. And I'm like, on a certain level, they're about as tolerable as the Meeseeks, too. They're kind of annoying.
They're annoying and great in small doses.
Yes, exactly. Although it was interesting to, I guess, kind of see that Kevins have different utilities as well. Because I doubt that those Kevins that showed up are specifically sanity units like our Kevin is.
Well, I think they're all programmed for the sanity, and that's their main function. But in a pinch, they can do other things like act as a security guard or act as another layer of force to help keep the prisoner safe.
Yeah.
Because let's admit it, in a world like this, especially with how people are being dealt with things, and we learn about the Infinity Guard as well when the crew gets captured,
right?
They're not above executing people. It is something they'll totally do. So they must have said, okay, Gary is a screw up. We just got to teach him that you can't do this. We'll throw him on a ship. He has to spend 5 years fixing satellites. Clearly, they're not above just killing people. So.
That's a very interesting way to look at that. That's,
Because the Lord Commander has clearly been around for more than 5 years.
This is very true. This is a very good point. I was just like, that just occurred to me that I'm like, oh wait, that's a very good point. We don't actually know, at this point anyways, how long the Infinity Guard has been infiltrated. I mean, Triborn makes it sound like the Resistance has been a thing for a while. So clearly something has been brewing for a very long time. That's cool.
Yes. So it's there's a lot of little details in this show you do have to try to pay attention to. It's very difficult.
It's nice.
And this might be one of the things about the shows I watch, is I love dealing with details. So
it's very nice that it is like so that it actually does have this much depth. I mean, in a way, you could say that it's not too dissimilar from other shows of its ilk. But the nice thing again is that even if there are kind of like tropes or whatever that are well trod ground or whatever, it still has that depth to them, that it's not all just surface level stuff. There is stuff underneath that you bring up as well when you dig into it.
Exactly. So they manage to get the bomb, and they leave.
Yeah, they leave, and then now we're at episode 10.
Yep. And the one thing that I loved about this episode is they did not start it with the 1 minute left.
I mean, I like that too, because in my mind, I sort of felt that we're in the final minute, and considering how that episode 9 ends with them like going out there and, oh look, there's the Lord Commander and his fleet, and it's like, yeah, we may as well just jump right into it. We're at the final minute. We know this is where Gary is going to wind up stranded and dying, so we may as well just figure out exactly. Generally speaking, that's what you do when you're using in media res that way. Generally speaking, you don't start your final chapter or whatever with the foreshadowed bit. You logically move into it, and so then the person reading, watching, or whatever is like, aha, I get it. I've connected all the dots. And the creator is like, see, you're smart.
Exactly. So, how did you feel about the action in this one?
Really good. Really good. This was top-notch stuff, I gotta say. How would I describe it?
Colorful is what I would use.
Yeah, colorful. They certainly didn't hold back, pull any punches or anything like that on any aspects of it. Like, again, leading up to the final minute, going over the credits where Gary's dying because now we're ticking down the seconds. Everything going through there, it's just like, yeah, I honestly got the feeling at the end that I was just, if not for the fact that at the final last second before the credits were...
You're getting way ahead of yourself.
Oh, okay, all right. I'll rewind a little bit.
Let's go through this. There's a lot to unpack with this episode. Like,
fair enough.
You're getting right to the end.
You're right. I have just like accelerated.
Damn it! The show's already done this. So we can't copy them.
Good point. That's a very good point, Miles. Yeah, all of the action, all of the fight sequences, like all of the like ship to ship destruction and everything like that, using the Lord Commander sending out the hives. And therefore meaning that, everyone needs to do their part. It was honestly... I'm surprised that I honestly felt a little sad when Kevin dies. If not for the fact that Gary, starts crying, and I'm just like, wait a minute. Gary's crying because he's happy that Kevin's dead.
So, I actually did want to talk about... I wanted to talk about this part.
Okay.
It was actually Olin Rogers' decision to make him happy at the fact Kevin died for the comedic value, because he didn't want everything to be so heavy. In a sense, it's a way to break up the fact that these people will probably never see each other again.
I mean, I understand that it is a comedic moment, and the thing about that is that I feel like you as a watcher can read it however you want. If you absolutely hate Kevin the way Gary does, yeah, you'll probably be like, woo, yeah, he's dead. Oh, thank God, the national nightmare is over, sort of thing. Or you could be like me, who's like, it's still tragic that he sacrificed himself and he died. That still sucks. I get completely why Gary is happy that it happened, but I personally am a little, sad that he died. At least he went out like a boss, though.
But he's a robot. He's what he does. It's in his programming.
Yeah, fair enough.
Let's move on to talk about Quinn taking the bomb, and Avocado, and a few other robots being the...
Avocado? You mean Little Cado?
Little Cado, my bad.
Yeah,
being
I know.
The distraction, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then,
him going
and
with
then the resistance coming up again to fight the good fight, and basically immediately get wiped out. I mean, they fought heroically, of course.
There's something in that I want to talk about, but we're going to save that for something else, because it reminded me of something from another sci-fi show.
You might as well say it here.
Oh, well, I mean, so in Star Trek, when the Borg are the first time they're introduced and they're a big deal and they show up and they just decimate most of the Federation fleet, they go to Earth and they get to the solar system and they're destroyed by the Enterprise before they can actually settle on Earth and everything. But when they enter the solar system, Earth sends whatever remnants of defenders they have, which are basically the same types of small fighters that the Resistance use. And they go up against this giant cube, and they don't even get close enough to engage with their weapon systems, and they're just immediately obliterated by the Borg. That is what the Resistance here reminded me of. It's your heart's in the right place, but... you're so outgunned.
So this actually does remind me of another space opera thing that I haven't read this, but I had it I've had media talk about it, and that is Ender's Game.
Ah.
So in Ender's Game, one of the books that was written was actually the first encounter the humans had with the alien race.
Yep.
And that first encounter was not with a warship. It was actually with a mining ship that was mining an asteroid. And if I'm correct in this, the mining ship was attacked, and the people on there were like, oh no, we're in trouble now because we can't really defend ourselves.
Right, because that's not what we're here for.
Yeah, they're just here to mine this asteroid. So what ends up happening is they come to the conclusion that, well, since the men are going to die anyways, they load up a bunch of mining equipment into an escape pod, hotwire it so they can launch it at the alien ship, and they just mine the hull of the ship and let the civilians, the people who are not going to be part of this, escape.
Wow.
And apparently it worked. As far as I remember. This was their first encounter with the aliens.
Yeah.
I don't remember the book name in that.
It's not in Ender's Game. It's in one of the later ones. So whether it be like Ender's Shadow, the Hegemony one or whatever, I don't know. I never actually read anything past the first book for whatever reason. So I mean, I don't.
So
remember.
the book is Orson Scott Card's Earth Unaware.
Oh, okay.
And that's where they talk about this mining ship that first encounters the alien race, and they have this conflict, I guess you'd say. I think the best way to describe it is a interaction.
Yeah,
because they didn't really know what to think of each other. If I'm correct in this book, I don't think humans encountered any other alien races up to then.
If I recall the Ender's series, it's basically always just the humans versus the aliens.
Exactly.
They don't talk about there is no one else.
Yeah, they don't talk about meeting other alien races or that. So
but,
I'm going to assume, it's a very big assumption for me to make, but I'm going to assume that this is the first time humanity meets aliens.
Yeah.
And they are made aware of it.
I think there might be some stuff in like the final, like the last books or whatever, when Ender is like an actual adult and stuff like that, where maybe they meet other alien races or whatever. But from my recollection, any like of the big interaction stuff is very much just Earth versus the alien menace in this case. But
now, before we get back on topic here, I do want to say that this could introduce us to another series that I'd love to show to you.
All right.
Referred to as our big rival team, football team, up here in our hometown, Roughnecks.
Oh. Ah, right.
The Starship Troopers Chronicles. I absolutely love this series. I did manage to find the DVD box for it. And it's something that I think we could definitely watch.
That's the Starship Troopers cartoon, right?
Animated series, yes. I don't know if I'd call it a cartoon. It's definitely not hand-drawn.
I definitely remember that it was on Teletoon when I was a kid. So, animated, yes. But not a live-action show.
Yes.
I never watched any of it, but I knew it existed.
Yes. Well, by all means, this is something that if our viewers want to do, we can definitely look into it. I have a lot of things that I love about this show. I spent a lot of time painting models to watching it. But let's carry on to Final Space.
So now we've got Closing the Breach, right?
Yeah.
So Quinn ends up doing it to kind of like fulfill her mission, but at the same time, Gary wants to do it too because he's the hero of the story. And then there's like this whole, well, we're both kind of the heroes of our own story and both kind of still want the same thing. And then I must have like missed it. Like, what does she do? She like tricks him, or she just like, I don't know.
She does kind of say to him like, "Hey, I'm the reason why this tear is here.
I see.
So
right.
I should be the one that closes it because it's only right. I should fix my mistakes."
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, in a way, I kind of like sit there and I think to myself that how much of a difference would it made if one or the other did it? I mean, Gary is dying when we see him anyways, but hey, at least the breach was closed, right? So at least that's kind of a win.
Is it? I mean, Lord Commander does have Mooncake.
And so therefore he can do whatever the heck it is that he needs Mooncake for in the first place. I feel
open the tear.
Oh, okay, so he'll just do it again.
Exactly. I mean, no matter what happens, if Gary dies, Mooncake opens up Final Space by destroying planets and creating a tear.
It's a fair point, but I mean, Gary's not dead yet, and we know this because at the, just final, half second of the credits before we go to the, the splash cards and everything for all the companies that were involved in making the show, we see some other ship shows up that is presumably going to rescue him. Who that is, don't know. Guess we're going to find out in the next season.
Yep.
But
Come join us for Final Space 2, the journey for more cash. Sorry, I'm getting my Spaceballs mixed up with my Final Spaces.
Well, I mean, I definitely will probably watch more of this show because I liked it. I don't necessarily know if we need to talk about it more, but I liked it.
Well, we'll ask our viewers. Do you want us to keep talking about Final Space, or shall we move on to our next big thing?
I mean, and if we do, I mean, we might just put it into a list or something. It'll come up.
Yes. So now that it's over, let's talk about one of the big points that I absolutely loved about this movie, or this series, I should say.
Kind of felt like a movie, didn't it?
It really did. The way I watch it, the way I usually watch my TV shows is like a movie. So, excuse my my language barrier here. As I've always said, English is my second language. My first one that I finally found out is memes. So, this series, one of the main things I wanted to talk about is music. What do you think about the music of this
I thought
show?
The music was really good. Both the copyright music that we got, we didn't get a lot of it. And it pretty much was only just in moments of... Effectively just in like the really heavy emotional moments, which kind of tracks. That seems to be like a thing probably for like the past 20 years or so. Specifically, it seems like in sci-fi shows that when there's like a really heavy melodramatic moment, you play a licensed song.
And it's not Blind Melon's Rain. Yes.
And thankfully it's not... so it reminds me of the song Hide and Seek by Imogen Heap, which I'm sure everybody knows because of memes, or if anyone who is our age and watched the OC or watched SNL, you know what I'm talking about.
So I'm one who has not watched the OC or SNL.
That is perfectly fine.
I do know the song. Yes, I am very well aware of it.
Yes, that's because you know memes.
Of course. It's my main primary language.
And has been memed quite a bit.
Yes.
Oh, man. But thankfully they didn't do that here, because I think I would have laughed instead of cried at any of the moments that they did that. But other than that, the actual music, it's great. All the background stuff, really good. Really helped enrich all of the scenes.
I felt it also helped keep it all tracked and keep you focused on it, especially coming to the end.
Yeah.
The beginning, you'd kind of feel pulled away from it a little bit, but the more you get into it, the more you feel you have to pay attention, and it just sucks your attention in more.
Well, who did the music anyways?
Shelby Mary.
Shelby Mary?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually have her music on my playlist because I really enjoy her music. Even though she is more along the line of the country artist.
Oh, really?
I'm not a big fan of the country music myself, but she did a really good job.
Well, that's pretty cool.
So some of the music she's done was When the Darkness Comes. Gallows. Gallows is actually one of my favorites from her. She was such a good job with that song.
Wasn't that in the show? Didn't they use that?
They did.
Yeah.
It depends when you what you watch the show on. I originally watched it on TBS, I think it was.
So you watched it on TV?
On TV, yes. And
because I watched it through Netflix, and I'm pretty sure
Netflix in the opening, they actually did show it. When they're kind of passing the camera over all of the destruction that's around. She does that intro, which, let me say, works perfectly.
Because I thought I heard, oh no, that might have been you talking about it at some other point when we were between episodes, and maybe showing me the differences, because I can't remember because I swear that they played it at a different point in episode 3 or 4 or something. Or somewhere, I think it is, somewhere in there, right? Yeah. But that was fantastic. That's one of those moments where the licensed music was not tacky.
Yes. Another song she did, which I really liked in these final episodes, is When the Night is Long. It matched up perfectly with the show. That kind of collaboration just doesn't happen often.
No, very much not. Wow, okay. I didn't realize that, like, the music, as in even, like, the songs that were in there were by the composer as well. Because usually that's not what you do. Like, you have your composer for the show, for, like, all the little interstitial stuff, or the theme song, or the closing theme, and whatnot. And then you go and your director or whatever goes and finds a song that they like, that they think will fit this moment where you want to have a licensed song or whatever. And so, then you get stuff like hide and seek in there, or, other stuff. I don't know. You're giving me a look. I'm feeling like, I'm not sure if that's like a meme thing or if that's like a legit happened in other shows.
No. Your words have actually sparked a small little thing for me here, Cameron.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the anime known as Ghost Stories?
Ghost Stories? I feel like I probably have.
Oh, Cameron, we're going to introduce everybody to the amazingness known as Ghost Stories. Because you know how I feel about anime. It's not my bread and butter at all. I'll watch some of it. It's something that we're going to have to watch.
Fair enough. And
you say that because you tell me that music is usually done at the beginning and at the end of things. And sometimes it doesn't always add up. Well, this show has the most ridiculous opening music and ending music that has absolutely nothing to do with this show at all.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
But we're going to have to watch that.
Okay, all right. We'll put...
There's a whole history behind this show that you are going to love. And I'm sure everybody out here who has never seen this show is going to love as well.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I will...
Sorry for our younger viewers. You're not going to be allowed to watch this one.
I'll look forward to that. To pull this back to Final Space, and again, kind of like the music thing. So I'm going to reference another past show or another space opera thing. Because one of the things that I really liked about the music here is the fact that it really like enriched everything, right? In a way, it almost kind of felt like it was a character in its own right. So Star Trek The Next Generation, the first like 3 or 4 seasons, they had Ron Jones was like their series composer, and you could tell as soon as he was not involved in the show because the music was completely different. The guy actually got awards and stuff like that for his work on the show. That's how good his music was. And then for whatever reason, the showrunners just like kicked him to the curb because they felt that his music was overbearing and was detracting from like the drama of what was happening in the show. And then the music that was replaced was like perfunctory at best. It was like bad, really bad compared to what it was. But I just wanted to say that like the music here that Shelby Mary was doing very much like reminded me of Ron Jones' work on The Next Generation. Like really, really good, really, really just like pulled you in and made the experience better.
So speaking of that, one thing I did want to talk about that I do like about this show compared to most of the other sci-fi stuff I've seen is, of course, the actual interpretation of space. As I've said before,
right?
I absolutely love how colorful they make it.
Yep.
One of my favorite YouTubers, a guy by the name of DJ Peach Cobbler, he talks about space and how it is very much nothing and emptiness, and how that can make everything feel so small and insignificant, and I like that.
I mean, it kind of is.
But this is a very good contrast to that, how they've taken the entire background, and instead of making it little white dots on black,
right,
you get massive galaxies and colorful plasmas.
You get to see nebulas and all sorts of little, like, solar flares and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yes. It feels to me like in some games where you get that, how do you want to set your graphics? And the hardcore gamers are like, take that slider and put it all the way at the bottom. I don't want any of that. I don't want to get distracted. And Nolan Rogers was like, no, screw you all. We're taking this and we're throwing it all the way to the top. And you have to try to pay attention to everything around you. But I'm going to make it so difficult for you. And I absolutely love that about his interpretation of how space should be presented.
So the interesting thing about that, and I believe I talked about that before, because back in when we were talking about the first 3 episodes, is again that this very much seems to be like a modern thing for depicting space, because especially in animation, so many shows do that. Voltron, Legendary, or whatever. Yeah, it's like whatever the Netflix one is called. They do it same way. Like they have so much detail when they're like visiting other planets and things like that, and they're in other solar systems and whatnot. Rick and Morty does it. Newer Futurama definitely does it. They did it a whole lot more than they did in the original one.
Yep.
Star Trek Lower Decks does it. That's also a cartoon.
I feel like Star Trek Lower Decks is actually using some similar animators.
Yeah, I mean there's like a certain pool, and there's also certain styles that are like popular right now. So you get kind of bleed over for that for certain things. But like I said, when you compare it to like the original old sci-fi shows like the original Star Trek, and then even going into like the Next Generation in the 80s and things like that, it's always either a budget thing, so you just have like matte paintings, so you're always going to see the same things because it's the same painting every time.
Yep.
Or no real imagination back then, and because we didn't have like as many telescopes, or we just couldn't see as many things in space, we don't know what they look like, so we just go with what we do know, which is what we see just with the naked eye when you don't have so much light pollution in the cities.
Very true.
Yeah, but absolutely, I agree. I love it because it's good eye candy.
Yeah. Let's move on to characters here.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about the characters now that this season is over?
Definitely feel that everyone, I get a nice feel for everyone now. I don't think there was anybody that I did not like. Like, I don't feel that there was like all right, I'm going to be like in the minority in this. Triborn is like my least favorite character.
They didn't do as much with him as they could have, and like I said, it was sort of a decision in the later parts that they were going to add him because he had such a big response, or not response. The community liked him so much.
Yeah, I mean, you.
So, anyways,
you listeners, if you disagree with me and you think I'm an idiot or whatever for not liking Triborn, feel free to tell me that. It's probably not going to change my opinion.
And if
he's my least favorite.
And if you hate Triborn, then contact me because I liked him. I thought he was very comedic. I almost feel like he was a better version of Jar Jar Binks.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, Star Wars, now modern Star Wars has a whole lot more as far as like the spaces and empty stuff, but whatever.
Yes. So let's talk.
Okay, so
let's carry on and let's talk about, since we talked about the characters, but the setting, the music.
I mean, if production. But I mean, my favorite character was actually John Goodspeed.
Okay.
It's Ron Perlman, man.
By all means, go with the Perlman. I can't say that he's my least favorite. He's definitely a great character. Personally, though, my favorite character would have to be Hugh. It is a very difficult task to be able to come across as the voice actor and play monotonous.
Yeah.
And he managed to do that and still give Hugh a personality.
Tom Kenny is a very talented voice actor.
Yep. And I thought you did a great job on it. So
he can do many things besides SpongeBob.
Yes, he can.
But I don't know.
Oh my God, he also did Mission Hill.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Well, he did a few people on that one.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Before we get off onto a whole nother tangent here, what did you think about the production of the show? Good? Bad?
I'd say good.
Okay.
Like production values are really good. Animation, like everything was really good. I mean, if there was a weak spot, I would pretty much just kind of say that that's Olin Rogers voicing Gary compared to everyone else in the cast, considering that they've been voice acting for decades.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean,
or in the case of
totally
like Ron Perlman and David Tennant and Keith David, who've been doing it for like probably longer than Olin Rogers has been alive. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
So
let's not rip on the guy because he's new.
No.
He did a great job.
He did. Like I said, I'm just saying he is the weak link compared to everyone else, but that's going to happen when your cast is that stacked. And he was pretty busy doing a whole lot of other stuff, so like he held his own.
Oh yeah. He made a very memorable character that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for the final point in this,
all right.
Would you recommend this show to other people, and who would that be?
Pretty much anyone that I know who likes animation, and very specifically is into sci-fi stuff. And even then, even if they're not so much into watching animated stuff, if they are like huge sci-fi fans, then I would recommend this. Anyone, if they're like a Trekkie, if they're a Star Wars fan, or anything like, even just like all they've ever watched is Stargate or something like that, I'd just be like, you should watch this. It's not very long, especially compared to those things, and it will be entertaining. It's got a nice balance in terms of like the humor, the like really dark black comedy, and then like the heavy emotional bits. And the great thing about like even the emotional bits is they're very sincere. They hang around and they don't try to undercut them. And when they do, it's very much the point. Like the characters, some of them are like, don't know how to process grief or whatever, and so they react in a way to kind of like take away from the sincerity, but you can kind of like see through and see that, they're putting on airs again, and it's actually affecting them. It's kind of one of the things that I prefer.
Facades.
Yeah, there we go. That's a better word. Thank you. That's a way better word.
Yes, they're putting on a facade.
Yeah.
And you can clearly see that that's all it is,
mm-hmm.
facade.
Yeah, exactly. So those are definitely like the first people that I would recommend it to. Again, anyone that I know, if they watch animated shows or whatever, and I'd be like, hey, check this out. Okay. What about you? I mean, you recommended it to me.
I do recommend it to almost anybody. Of course, I would recommend it to younger audiences. But honestly, most of the stuff I watch, I would not necessarily.
I mean, weirdly enough, I feel like this is something that you could kind of like recommend to older kids, because it's not really that bad when you compare it to showing Rick and Morty to like someone who isn't even a teenager. No, don't do that. This, I would be open to negotiations for should someone who's like 9 watch this. I mean, geez, when we were growing up, kids that were like 7 and 8 were watching Dragon Ball Z every day.
That's true. Our generation, though, was... we can go into a whole tangent about
come on. The generation before us had Watership Down as a kids' movie, in addition to Plague Dogs, remember?
Yes, but our generation was raised on TV.
Well, that's a good point.
Because the parents are always busy working. Let's not get into this too deep, dark discussion. We're only here to discuss the media, not the problems of our societies.
You got a good... Fair enough. That's a very good point.
So... at the end of this, I hope you all enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to contact us, and we will listen to them wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see you guys next week.
Or you mean next time?
Yes, next time.
Bye.
Bye.